So I'm videotaping this. It's going to either go in the Google Drive for the class or the YouTube channel, depending on how big the file is. So, like I mentioned before, just having been around a lot of band directors now, like the one thing I hear and see a lot of is maintenance issues. One, like either they don't have enough money to pay someone to come out, or they've tried to do it themselves and it's been destroyed, or they're paying someone way too much money to come out. Like some college kid is getting paid $100 an hour to come work on this stuff. So to save you guys some money and some time, I thought it might be kind of nice to go through the process and see what it's like. So what I'm going to do is strip this drum down. It's a 13-inch piccolo snare drum, usually meant for soft playing or drum set playing. This one we've dedicated to drum set playing, as you can see by the busted up head that's going on, right? Now, my plan was to re-head this, so, but we don't have a 13-inch head apparently. So what we're going to do is, when it's your time, one of the groups will be assigned to re-head this thing, okay? So here's the plan. Ask questions. We're going to go through it. I'm going to talk about all the things in this picture, and then it's up to you to ask questions, like why did you do this, why that, and I'll talk my way through it. The goal here is for you to be split up into teams of 3 or 4 and to redo the process on this drum. It will be on this drum, okay? The reason I picked this drum is because it's the easiest, well, we'll find out in a minute. It's the easiest out of all of them to put back together because you should only need a drum key. Some of them you will have to take the snare strainer off with a screwdriver, or you might need to use an Allen wrench, things like that. This one should be easy peasy. Now, I don't know what has happened to it, so once we start diving in, we might find some issues like a cracked rim, cracked shell, split wires on the snares. We might find anything. So I'm going to take you through the cleaning process, a basic cleaning process, and overhaul this drum. Any questions so far? Cool. So first things first, we have a batter head. It is what it sounds like, to strike, to beat. Batter head. So if you look on your sheet, it's not really showing the head, but right in the dead center there's an arrow that says batter head. Snare head, this side, for snare wires. I'm not, like it is that simple, we keep it pretty simple. Before though, you guys heard of tenor drums, like tenor drums or a field drum. They didn't have these. They didn't have snares. So in your bands, if you ever call for a tenor drum, it's a snare drum with the snares off, or a big drum, yeah? So, obviously this is a new creation. This is something that is probably, this idea of a piccolo drum is probably only 100 years old. Drums used to be giant. So, anyway, batter head, snare wires. When we get to these, I'll tell you about the different kinds of snare wires, but they are actually, they come from snares, like traps, like to catch animals and things like that. Cool? Alright, let's take it apart. The first thing you need is a drum key. They all are the same. As long as you go into any music shop and say, I need a snare drum key, they will give you something like this. You've probably seen them even larger with like these giant handles. Those are called high tension keys. They're meant for marching drums, where you actually put really serious amounts of pressure on the head. But this one is not too bad. You can push it in. It's pretty good. So, since we're just taking this head off, I'm just going to go to town on it. So the first thing I normally do is I'll take 2 keys, or I'll do 1 key, and I'll start to decrease the tension here. I'll go to where I can start to take it off with my fingers. Okay? So I'll start to release tension here, where I can start to do it with my fingers, and you'll see what I mean in a second. And you're going to hear pops probably. It's the glue in the head. So, where you can start to move it with your fingers. And I still do it this way. I start with one and I go to the opposite one directly across.
Like a tire?
Say it again. Like a tire. Yeah, I use a star method, kind of similar to a tire. And already I've encountered a problem. Alright. So, I switched keys because my students have done something stupid over here. And they beat up this lug to where this key doesn't fit in anymore. So I brought a little smaller key. Alright, so you hear that glue popping a little bit? And then now it's finger tight or finger loosened. That's these. And now I'll go to these. The taking off process, it doesn't necessarily matter, honestly. I do it this way to remind myself what I'm going to do when I put it back on. So that's finger loosen. You see the head starting to crinkle? So if you look closely, that's normal. That means there's no tension here and lots of tension here. Don't worry, little head. We're going to be okay. I talk to my drums, only child. All right, so tension, tension. Now, as you're doing this, sometimes you'll notice that one lug won't come off as quickly. Like it's really difficult, or it might even look rusted. This drum itself looks rusted. That's why we have WD-40. You can use motor oil, like it's like a tube of it. It's blue or green. You can just dip the lugs in there. I like that because it's less icky. Now, at this point, everything is finger like loosened up to where I can move it with my fingers. Now you can. This is what this drum sounds like. Pretty awesome, right? Cool. At this point, our goal is to take off all the lugs all the way. Because I have big hands, I'm just going to keep doing this. Those of you that have smaller hands, good for you. My word. Okay, that one's off. So you could finger tighten them all the way out if your hands are small. My hands are not. So we're going to take this all the way off. And here's a rule. If you can, try to take this off with the lugs, with these screws in the same position as they come off. So I'm going to raise this off, put it down, and then I'm going to put it back the same way in the same casings or the same lugs. Because this drum has been around for a long time, it's been sitting like this, and these screws have gotten used to how it feels in there. And you could strip the screw and or where it's going in if you try to force something into the wrong hole. I don't really have a good analogy for that. Just use your imagination. Okay. I think we're almost done. Any questions while I'm doing this? It's really boring up here. Okay, so I believe it's been, they're all ready to come off. So I'm going to lift this off. What is going to be underneath here is skin, dirt, eraser, blood maybe, stick shavings. Everything's going to be around this rim. It's going to be pretty gross. You ready? Yeah, check it out. How's that look for you? Right around there? Can you see? It's gross. There's like hair. Some fungus maybe. All right. So, I've taken this off. Find a marker. I'm going to leave it just like that. Okay? So that helped me remind me, like this right here is this part. What I would normally do is take a dry erase marker and mark that, but I forgot. So we're going to keep moving on. Now, since I'm going to reuse this head, we're going to clean it. The best way to clean it is to take a lightly damp rag and run it across the edge here. Already I've only gone an inch or so. That's people's skin and dirt. Pretty nice. I like to clean this part. The reason being is this head is plastic, this is metal, and the head goes in there, glue is spread around, and it's clamped shut. The more of these fibers and like skin and like sticks and stuff will push against that glue and rip this off. Or get stuck in there and slowly will start to separate. You don't want that, because once that starts to happen, the head will just break. Also, this head is just not going to get clean. So I'm just going to do this real quick. I would normally throw this away, but we don't have another one yet. But I'm going to go to save. So there's that. The next thing I do is I examine the inside of the drum for any dents, dings, anything like that. I also go around the bearing edge here with this rag and just wipe any dust that might have come up. Not too bad. Now, if you notice any rattles in your drum, if you're ever playing a drum and you hear rattles, and you check the strainer, you check the snares, all the lugs are good, chances are it's one of these screws right here inside the drum. So what I do, since it's very rare that I take these off, probably once or twice a year, this one like 8 years maybe, I'll go through with a screwdriver and just slightly tighten each of these bad boys, just a little bit. What these screws are the casing for the lugs here. So if you look at your picture, you'll see the word lug. It's pointing at one of these. These little screws keep the lugs, basically the lugs are just housings for the screw, keeps it secure around here.
How long do your drum heads typically last for?
That's a great question. So, that one should have been changed a long time ago. If you can afford it, every year, I would change it. Every year. If your drum, like if you're in a concert band and it's getting played on every day, I would say every year to every 2 years, if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, I have my piccolo drum. It's a drum that I use all the time. I've, like with the symphony or in solo playing or whatever, and it's been on there for 6 years and it sounds awesome. But I take care of it. I wipe it down. I have this little air can that I spray that knocks out all the like eraser markings and stuff like that.